With three basic number types described in the previous video, it is possible to use Python as a simple calculator. Using the operators given on the screen, these are binary operators in that they act on two numbers to produce a third. Python 3 has two types of divisions. Float point division always returns a floating point or complex number result, even if it acts on integers. Integer division. It always rounds down the result to the nearest smallest integer. It's called floor division. The type of resulting number is an integer only if both the operands are integers. Otherwise, it returns a float. Some example should make this clear. If we divide 3.6 by 5, we get 0.72. And if we divide 3 by 2, we get 1.5. And if we divide 27 by 4, we get 6.75. Note here that 27 and 4 are both integers, and yet we get a float answer. We can force our answers to be integers by using integer division. Let's see some examples. Now, if we divide 8 by 5 using the integer division, we get 1. And if we divide 8 by 2, we get 4. And if we divide 27 by 4, we get 6. Now let's see the modulus operator. If we use the modulus operator on 8 and 5, we get the remainder, and the answer is 3. And if we use the modulus operator on 8 and 2, we get 0 as expected. On 27 and 4, we get 3 again. Operator precedence. Arithmetic operations can be strung together in a sequence, which naturally raises the question of precedence. So the highest precedence is with the exponent, then multiplication, then division, then integer division, then remainder or modulus, then plus, and then minus. Python numbers are objects. In fact, everything in Python is an object. Objects have certain attributes which can be accessed using the dot notation. Object and then dot and then the attribute. That's how it goes. Some attributes are simple values. For example, complex number objects have the attributes real and imaginary. That is REAL real and IMAG for imaginary, which are the real and imaginary floating point parts of the numbers. For example, 5 plus 4j dot real will give us 5, and 5 plus 4j dot imaginary, that is IMAG, will give us 4. Other attributes are methods, callable functions that act on their object in some way or the other. For example, complex numbers have been method conjugate, which returns the complex conjugate of the complex number. So if we have 5 plus 4j dot conjugate, we get 4 minus 5j. Here, the empty parenthesis indicates the method is to be called. That is, the function to calculate the complex conjugate is to be run on the number 5 plus 4j. If we omit them, as in 4 plus 5j dot conjugate, we are referring to method itself without calling it. The method itself is an object. Mathematical functions. Two of the mathematical functions that are provided by default as so-called built-ins are absolute and round. Absolute is, in Python, referred by ABS. Absolute returns the absolute value of the numbers. For example, absolute of negative 5.2 is just 5.2. An absolute of negative 2 is 2. An absolute of 3 plus 4j which is a complex number by the way, is 5. Round function rounds a floating point number to the nearest integer. This rounding is actually banker's rounding. For example, if we round 9.62, we get 10, and if we round 7.5, we get 8. We can also specify the number of digits of precision after the decimal point as a second argument to the round function. Example, round pi, which is the value 3.141539, and then comma 3, we get 3.142. So Python is a very modular language. Functionality is available in packages and modules that are imported if they are needed, but they are not loaded by default. This keeps the memory required to run a Python program to a minimum and improves performance. For example, many useful mathematical functions are provided by the math module, which is imported by the statement import math. The math module concerns itself with floating point and integer operations. Note that functions for complex numbers are in a different module called CMath. Now these are called by passing one, or sometimes more than one, numbers to them inside the parentheses. For example, we import math and then use math.exponent -1.5, and then we get 0.2231 and so on. Math.cos of 0 will give us 1. Math.square root sqrt is another function. Here are some of the important functions from the math module.